What's going on, football fans? It's me, J.R. Clark, back with another Pound for Pound ATL Live. Joined this week by my main man, Jonathan Holder. And, man, what's going on, Jonathan? How are you, sir?
Man, I tried to tell my job that I got something important I got to do, and they were not wanting to be like cooperative with it, but I finally talked them into it.
There you go. I'm glad to hear that. Same here, kind of telling folks, hey, look, man, it's Tuesday. It's showtime. This
Exactly.
things we got to do, things we got to handle. And especially, with the deal of needing to, like, sorry, a message just popped up. But anyway, needing to, like, talk about the things that are transpiring this week. We got a lot of, some sad, a lot of wild, some glad, and some just interesting things that we got to get into. So I guess without much further ado, we might as well just jump on into it. What do you think?
Absolutely. I'm so ready. This
As you can see, we're trying a new format, and that time I was straight up and down cut you off. And which
you told me about that, and I was just like blah 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 blah, and then all of a sudden it cuts off, and I'm like, oh yeah.
straight up and down. We've always like tried to be yeah, I see that the Streamlabs I thought I disabled the Streamlabs chatbot thing. I will fix that. So my apologies on the Streamlabs deal. So please, who like Dre Murphy, don't think I'm I'm going off. I thought I had disabled that because our good buddy Bradley Burnett is actually in here as our moderator. So my apologies. Nick, you're right. Like straight up down. I'm just gonna go ahead and jump into that part. He says not the same without Toby. You're right. It's not the same, and it's not going to
Right.
be the same. It's not. Things aren't meant to stay the exact same. First and foremost, we want to thank Toby for everything that he's done for this channel. Um, if it wasn't for him, in a lot of ways, this channel wouldn't be going. He's the one that reached out to me, 6 years ago, and you know, decided to join forces and what then became obviously Pound for Pound. But as all things, like, come and go, things change. A lot of y'all saw his video that went out on Sunday of him, explaining that it was just time for him to step away. There was absolutely, like, nobody asked him to leave. As a matter of fact, it was the exact opposite. I tried to convince him a few times to stick around. But as y'all probably figured out, that's one reason why Jonathan was brought on. This was not a quick decision by Toby's part. Um, so for the foreseeable future, it's going to be me and Jonathan holding it down. I'm going
Yep.
to like take y'all through the off season and get into like the draft and all, free agent signing and all that good fun stuff. But Toby wanted me to make sure that y'all knew that he appreciated all the messages that were left in that video or comments. Like he felt the love and he very, very much appreciated it.
I remember first meeting him. It was at training camp.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I remember meeting him for the first time at training camp. He told me about getting set up for. Yeah, you're trying to get set up to do like YouTube videos and all that stuff. That was years ago, and he's been a cool guy ever since. I've never had a problem.
Oh yeah.
He's just been a really nice guy to hang out with, chat with, especially talk football with. So
Yeah, he's like I said, he's going to be missed. His insight's going to be missed. His uh, unique perspective, the think tank type videos that he did, especially during the off season, he is definitely going to be missed around the pound for pound parts and around the family. But um, we're gonna try to bring a not trying to reinvent the wheel per se, but as with new people, you're going to get new perspectives. And I think that that's important because one thing we try not to do around here is create an echo chamber. Um, as we go through the off
Yeah.
season, we're going to have different guests on who are going to bring different perspectives. And so, yeah, it's I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. And, like Bradley says, I'm going to miss Toby, but, we're in good hands. And I feel yeah, I think I still feel like I got something I can bring. Obviously, going to be, um, going down to the Senior Bowl here in a couple weeks, bringing that kind of draft perspective. So yeah, it's going to be. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We have
Yep.
switched to a new platform. We're on StreamYards now. The one app that we were using was giving me fits, and the show that we tried to record with Eric Robinson absolutely went off the rails. And just like with OBS before it, that was the last straw.
Yep.
So now we're on StreamYard, and we'll see how this goes. So I don't have the cool, fun air horn anymore, which kind of sucks. But
What?
we will, yeah,
I'll be the air horn.
you'll be the air
I'll
horn.
be the air
Okay.
horn. I'll be the air horn.
Woon Carter tipped us $5, which we appreciate. He says, "Rise up, pound." There you go. Rise up, pound family. Glad to be here tonight as usual. Also want to say thank you, Toby D, for your contribution to the channel. Right, we very much I don't know if there's ever going to be, enough thanking, but it's yeah, he knows that we love him. Dre Murphy just added Toby, the total opposite of Tom freaking Brady. And then family, not over football. Your family first, though. Yeah, that's a funny thing. But
I saw a guy today. I was watching the Pat McAfee show, and they brought on um, the guy from the Pewter Report.
Okay.
For Tampa Bay, and I just thought it was hilarious. It's obviously the situation there, but it's like he went through his divorce this year, and now he's like. The guy was like, and Tom, this offseason, man, he had the divorce. He doesn't have to check in with the wife. He doesn't have to talk. Say, is it okay if I continue to play football? This, that, yeah. I'm like, what? No, come on. That is.
I heard somebody say, and we'll get into this as we roll through the topics or whatever, but I heard somebody say the man chose football over his family and ended up barely winning the NFC South and getting bounced in the first round after having his worst year ever. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, that sucks for him, but that's definitely the way it appeared.
And especially if he comes back with Tampa Bay, man, it's gonna be almost 47 years old. I just don't see it.
Yeah. We're going to get into that here in a minute, but yeah, I completely agree. Millie asked a real quick question. Said, "Hey, JR, what's up with Mike and Jimmy? Are they doing good as well?" As far as I know, the last couple times I touched base with them, they seem to be doing pretty good. Mike's moving up the corporate ladder, to my understanding, and Jimmy had a little bit of a, shake up, but I think he's stabling back out now. So, which is good. They are both in a very positive light.
Good deal.
So we definitely wish those guys. Are you ready for your air horn, bro? Willie Doc just tipped us $10. There you go. He says, Ballers and Fallers playoff edition. Baller Toby. See, it should have been Toby. Enough said. Faller, the entire NFC South team, finishing with 10 losses. Yikes. Honorable mentions: Jags wins, Quinn/Falcons beating Brady. Those are good. Like I said, I just need to, the Ballers is brought to you again this week by Willie Doc.
Yep.
Ballers and Ballers. So I guess we'll go ahead and get into that. And
couldn't do it without you, Willie.
That's right. This time I don't have the cool slideshow because I didn't think about it until way too late. So your baller is Trevor Lawrence. He could have easily also been a faller with 4 interceptions in the first half, but
3 in the first quarter.
Right. But to erase a 27-point deficit was absolutely crazy. That's the biggest deficit overcome in a playoff. I guess which ain't anymore. Anyway. But yeah, I mean, I went to bed on that game. And I said, I was like, well, dang. I said, because, I put out a little prediction short on Saturday morning. And the Jags was one of the ones I predicted, right? And I predicted that they were running a hot streak. A lot of times in the playoffs, it's all about getting hot at the right time. And, I figured they would handle the Chargers. When then after, like I said, after that first half, I was like, good Lord, this is, yep,
Mm-hmm.
prediction busted right here.
Yep.
And, but I woke up the next morning 31-30 and watched that fourth quarter. And I was like, holy Pete. Um,
I still haven't got around to watching it, but yeah, I just picked it up at it was basically midnight, and I just picked it up my phone and was like, let me just check the score, see what the final score was. And I saw Jags stun Chargers. And I was like, excuse me?
yeah.
What?
But and on the heels of the Jags stunning the Chargers, today got announced that they have fired their OC um and their passing game coordinator. Real quick, until I can disable this, y'all disregard the Streamlabs messages. Y'all keep posting what you're posting. It's fine. Um, the Streamlab thing, like I said, I thought I had it disabled. I guess I didn't. That's my apologies, Jarrett. But you're okay. Anyway, but yeah, the Chargers fired their OC, Joe Lombardi, and their passing game coordinator because like the average depth of pass for Justin Herbert was like next to nothing. And a
Hmm?
guy with the kind of arm talent that Justin Herbert has, that's like that's ridiculous that you're throwing like all your concepts are like short passes. Um, but anyway, that was an interesting game. There could have been many other ballers from the playoff edition, but I definitely decided to give it to Trevor Lawrence as he's starting
Hmm.
to really show that he was a worth that first overall pick. A few
Yep.
last. I
He could come in next week and lay an egg, but still
I still think
if I
like
if I was a Jaguars fan, I would be like,
right.
all
I
right,
feeling good. Feeling
yes,
good.
yes,
Um, let's see. And our follower obviously is Tom Brady, because
yes.
my God, did that man look old? And he
Oh
looked
my
all of
god.
his 45 years old.
I still can't say I still can't tell if that pick he threw in the end zone was him trying to throw it away and he couldn't, or if he thought a guy was going to go across the back line.
I don't know.
I'm still not 100% sure. I've watched that particular play like 3 or 4 times, just looking at it like this is so beautiful.
Right.
Uh,
All right.
so
Are you ready for your another brown? Fred Buzz tipped us $2. He says, putting y'all on the spot, is Ritter the starter? As
yes,
of today, I'm saying yes. I'm saying Ritter
I
is a starter in 23. That's part of our topics and stuff like that. But as of right now, I am saying that Ritter is a starter. Um, so yeah, Tom Brady, he goes into the offseason being a free agent. Um, his last year, his deal voids the start of the new year, which will leave Tampa Bay with a huge dead cap hit for him. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. If he decides to retire, Tampa Bay can then spread it out. But if he wants to play again, Tampa Bay's got to eat all that money. And that's going to be an interesting, like somebody said earlier, let's see if I can find it again. Somebody made a comment, it may have been Nick, that the NFC South is wide open. And he's 100% right. The NFC South is wide open.
oh
And
yeah,
um, there's no reason to think, even with like Ritter as your starter next year, that you shouldn't be able to come in and immediately compete for the NFC South. Hell, you competed for it this year with
yeah.
the roster that we have.
Even if Brady comes back, like I still say this is a uh assuming the Falcons do obviously they're not going to get every free agent we want,
Right.
but if they do the right thing, they personally don't go after Lamar. Like I know that's going to be a topic. I know that
Oh yeah, we're gonna
that's
get there.
but don't do that. Just build that defense, build your offense. Build it as a bubble to protect Ritter, and or whether it's Ritter or whoever we may draft the following year, or a free agent that we pick up or whatever. But make it so that the entire team around your QB is makes it so that the QB doesn't quite matter as much.
Right.
It's not the okay if your quarterback is. I mean, try to be like San Francisco, whether you got Garoppolo or Purdy, that team still just bowls over people.
Right. Yep.
So try to be that team if you can. It's not easy. It takes years of good drafting and all that stuff, but try to be that.
That's definitely the thing is like what we want to establish is, the culture of building the team, of being able to draft, of being able to bring in the right guys. Those are the kind of things that I want to build. And if this is what uh Fontenot's been able to do with bargain bin shopping and has
Yeah.
produced like this level of team, and this coaching staff has been able to produce 7 wins with this level of team, I'm excited to see what another year of drafting and more capital to spend in the offseason brings to Atlanta. Um, so, but like continuing on with the wild card weekend,
Mhm.
we saw like a lot of very interesting things. I want to like briefly speak on like, the Huntley fumble. That was crazy. Like Sam
Yep.
Hubbard returning that. And also like the Buffalo game with Skylar Thompson, right?
Mhm.
That came down to the wire. Now, do you think that that was just do you think that that was just more of like familiarity in those situations? Because the Baltimore and Bengals had played each other 3 times and the
Mhm.
week before. And then same deal with the Dolphins and the Bills being divisional rivals. They played 3 times.
Yep.
So, do those close games like better represent to you like the idea that these teams are playing each other a lot, and so therefore you get a better handle on what they're trying to do?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because you think about it, how many times have we seen, even in the heyday of the Patriots, when they were just steamrolling people, and they would steamroll most of the AFC East, but then you would get like the weird games where the Dolphins would like either play them super tough, super
Right,
close, or beat them. Sometimes even sweep them in years where like that may be the only 2 losses they had all season was to the Dolphins, who probably stunk the rest of the year.
right,
And the Falcons and Saints games, even when the Saints were big time players, and they were winning, 12, 11, 12 games in a season. Most of the times, the games between us were always pretty close. Either they were, 21-24, or they were like 30 something to 30 something. It was, just it just kept going back and forth. And so when you have those divisional opponents that you play so many times, you just get to know all their little tendencies and all their little tweaks,
yep,
the little ticks, the things that they do that kind of tip them off. It's just really hard to play the same team multiple times and it not turn into the kind of games we saw against Buffalo, Buffalo and Miami, and the AFC North matchup.
yeah, the
So
Baltimore and Bengals,
yeah,
yeah, and that was something that I found interesting because like you had a, you know, like you had a third round, not third round, you had a third string quarterback who I think had only played 1 or maybe 2 other games, come in for the Dolphins and actually look competent, which
yeah,
was interesting. Um, like we talked, I've already kind of talked about Brady's collapse a little bit, and we can go back to that if we want to. But this kind of segues into what I want to talk about with like the state of the NFL quarterback right now. You have, guys like out there in San Francisco, you have Brock Purdy, who hasn't lost yet
yeah,
since he's been instated as a starter. You have guys like, Skylar Thompson, who I think is a 7th round pick or even undrafted, having some success. Now, who knows how long prolonged it's going to be. But then also, like, you have reclamation projects like Geno Smith up there in Seattle, like setting franchise records. Uh, so it really seems like in a year that the second overall pick from last year gets benched for a CFL quarterback up there in New Jersey with the Jets, And like the old guard passing away in a sense of Brady and Rodgers. Also, you
Mhm.
could throw Ryan in there. Like, it's interesting to see where the NFL quarterback is and what do you think this might do to quarterback evaluations. Even like pacing in our own situation here with Ritter in the third round.
Yeah, it's the one. I mean, this is not like some super insightful comment. The one thing you'll see that you see with almost all the guys that are remaining, if not all the guys that are remaining in the playoffs, is athleticism, not necessarily running quarterbacks, but
Right.
guys who can move around the pocket really well, guys who can escape pressure, extend plays. It's not necessarily the Lamar Jacksons, the Justin Fields, who Justin Fields, I think more because he doesn't really have the team around him.
Right.
Um,
Like he don't really have much of an option.
no, but especially like Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is a quarterback slash running back.
Right.
I'm not trying to say he's a bad quarterback. He's not, but much more so than probably any other quarterback, maybe besides Josh Allen. It probably like has like plays that are specifically built for him to run the ball.
Right.
Um, if you don't count Taysom Hill, and I don't,
He's a gadget. Like I don't
he's
count
a
him as a
he's a
quarterback.
he's a
Like
gadget guy, but
if he was the answer, they never would have brought in Andy Dalton.
yeah. So, but you see that I think that's what you're going to be seeing is a lot of guys maybe even taking chances on some quarterbacks that maybe in years past either might have gone undrafted,
Hmm.
potentially, maybe rising up the boards a little bit because they feel, especially if the organization feels like they have good coaching in place to coach this guy up as far as how to be a good quarterback in the NFL, how to how to maybe to a good way for him to learn how to do like have that anticipation. Although
Hmm.
some of that's probably just innate, but it can still be taught. Like
Yeah, it's
w-
something that you can still work on.
exactly. So, but
Like
but but what you can't do is you can't make Ryan into a Mariota as far
no,
as
like
mobility goes.
athleticism. Yeah.
Yeah, the athleticism, if it's there, you can work with that to do other things.
Hmm.
Whereas, if you're a statue back there like a Brady, like a Ryan, and you've been that way from day one, that's just who you are. They can't just say, okay, we're going to teach you how to run around and escape the pocket and make these Patrick Mahomes type stuff. You just can't. Um, and so I think that athleticism is going to be a bigger and bigger part. And I think we're starting to see also some of the like the running game coming back into the NFL in a
Yes,
big way. In a big
that's
way.
like. I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to cut you off,
Oh, you're
but
fine.
that's something that like I'm legitimately hearing this off season. Like I know that that's a video coming down the pipeline.
Mhm.
The resurgence of the run game. It's the punch and counter punch of the NFL. You
Yep.
know, the offenses went like five wide, spread the field, verticals, all that jazz, and defenses answered with nickel packages, dime packages, drop eights, things like that. That was their answer to it. And now it's like, all right, I'm going to get you in this look and I'm going to do it with heavier personnel that I can spread you out with, get you in this nickel look, and then start pounding the ball.
Yep.
You know,
And
and
and if you're run if you can get a good running game going, you can then also afford to have a guy come in and not have to be a Patrick Mahomes, like
right,
whatever, right from the start. You could take a guy, develop him to be your quarterback of the future, while he can lean on the running game early on and not have to be the guy that carries the team.
well, and like I mean, take last night's game for example, or last night's game for proof. Like you're asking Tom Brady at 45 years old to throw 65 times. That's not a winning formula.
You don't want
That's
Tom Brady at 25 just throw 65 times,
that's
let
what I'm saying.
alone
Like
40.
that's not a winning formula. And
Yeah.
so it's just interesting to see, like I said, the punch and the counter punch. Here's a question that I've been thinking about. MJ asked, I wonder if 49ers decide to roll with Brock Purdy, would we be interested in maybe trading for Trey Lance? There were rumors that we were interested in him 2 years ago. I'll say this. We were definitely, it was not rumors. Like San Francisco jumped us for a reason. Like you don't go up that high if you don't think you need to. And during Trey Lance's pro day, he pretty much ran Arthur Smith's playbook. Like, Arthur Smith more or less fed him the playbook and said, "This is what I'd like to see you run." Like, if he had been there, like we would have Trey Lance on our roster, not Kyle Pitts. I more than have absolutely believe that. Now the question would be, do they give up a draft pick to get him? And that's going to be the interesting part because here's the deal: if Brock Purdy takes San Francisco to the Super Bowl and potentially wins it,
Mhm.
like you go and look at Trey Lance's first 4 games, and stat wise, they're worse than Ritter's.
Oh yeah.
Now you could say, "Hey, look, he was still learning, all this other jazz." Which still trying to get his feet wet, but now you have Brock Purdy who came in and hit the ground running.
Yep.
So it's going to be real interesting. Somebody said earlier, way up before the show even got started, it's going to be an interesting offseason. Yes, very much going to be an interesting offseason.
Yes.
Bradley says the asking price for Trey will be high. And from what I'm seeing him struggling in Kyle's offense, I'm not sure we'd be interested in it at this point. That is a true, like that's not a false statement. Uh, Joe follows it up with Trey Lance has not played football more or less in the last 3 years. You are starting from scratch with him. Again,
Yep.
totally agree. I'm just telling you that uh, the year he was coming out, like the Falcons, had he been on the board, the Falcons he'd have been in red and black, like
Yeah.
straight up.
And if we had gotten him then, who knows what he'd be now,
Yeah,
right?
right, exactly.
There's no telling because then he sits for a year in Arthur Smith's offense, soaking all that in that he already did a really good job with at the combine and pro days and stuff. And then he gets to sit behind Matt Ryan, who, regardless of what you think of him as a quarterback on the field, the guy's a consummate professional, classy as hell, and
Yep.
he knows how to be a pro, and that's the thing that you want your guy to teach. You don't necessarily have to like take him under his wing and like you know try to help him with his mechanics and things like that. They got coaches for that, but
Right.
having him be the example to like this is how you prepare. This is how you watch film properly. Here's what how you know here's how you do the job, like
Hmm.
the game on Sunday, yeah, that's the thing everybody sees, but the job of an NFL player is through the week getting prepared, watching that film, taking good notes, and being prepared for what that team and you put all that work in there, and then you go have fun on Sunday. Sunday's the fun part. The other part is the work part.
Right, right, right,
Uh,
right.
so learning how to be a pro would have been helpful. I don't know what happened in San Francisco. I don't, how much of that he had, didn't have, who knows.
Right.
But yeah, if he did come in day one into this system, maybe he's in a better spot. Who knows?
Yeah, no, I completely agree that no telling. And honestly, I'll say this: if it's me, I've already had Ritter in my system for a year.
Hmm.
And um, I think I would just kind of stick with him at least in 23, because of how much San Francisco had to give up for Trey Lance, you're not going to get him for just a straight 1 round pick, a first round pick.
No.
So then to me at that point it becomes too high for not knowing exactly how his medical recovery's gone from that ankle injury because it kept him out all year. So um no telling, what that medical looks like, how he's going to like bounce back from that. So for me, I would just I would stick with what I had, and for
Absolutely.
that goes as much for Lamar as well. Let's see. Millie says, but if Terry F. baby makes this Lamar BS happen, we can kiss Lance goodbye. Oh yeah, no. If you pull the trigger on that, no, then
Yeah.
that's your play.
Yeah.
To me, you feel like if you're making that play for Lamar, which is extremely interesting the way this is setting up, because he didn't travel with the team, and now
Well,
they're
so, so
right. We're gonna get into I'm gonna get into all that. It
okay.
first got like reported that he just didn't travel with the team, and nothing else really came out about it. Now you're getting reports that he was sick, and that's why he didn't travel with the team. So who knows what's actually going on? But if it's a deal where like the raw emotions from the Ravens players after that uh after that game, after that loss to the Bengals, especially J.K. Dobbins, like that was interesting. Like talking about how Huntley shouldn't have been in that situation. Now, he was also, I think, advocating for him to get the ball more
Yep.
in that. But there's definitely like some ish brewing in Baltimore.
So like here's what I'll say. As far as I know, now this is just what I have heard and read. Yes, did he travel with the team this past weekend? No. Since his injury, has he traveled with the team when they've gone on away games? No. Like, so this is not this time
New,
it happened. It's not a new thing. And especially when it comes to knee stuff. I know with like ligament damage stuff, I know a lot of times a lot of players will not travel with the team because flying can cause swelling and can
right.
potentially cause some setbacks with knee injuries specifically. So now I'm not saying there's not a falling out between Baltimore and Lamar, but I don't think I don't think just him not traveling with the team is any indication of that. I think the indication is that uh, like he's putting out stuff about if you wanted to point at any one thing and say that's some indication was his I think it was Instagram where he's like take care of the things that you
Take
cherish
the
and
things you have and before
yeah
you don't
and
have
then
them.
yeah, and then they'll take care of you or something like that. If you want to look at that and say there's
Right.
some stuff brewing, okay, I can get behind that. But just him not traveling with the team, the people that are trying to say like that's so weird. It's like no,
Right.
he didn't travel with the team before the playoffs. Whenever they went on the road, so
Now, here's the thing. I'm going to put up two quotes back to back, which are two statements which go along with what we're talking about here. Josh says Lamar did the right thing. Money comes before teammates. Sorry, there's an aspect of that I understand and like agree with, and I will get. I want to roll up all this into one. He also followed up with, if the Ravens wanted to pay him, they would have gotten it done. Would have already gotten it done. Lamar took his power back. Now, here's what like in those two deals there. I will say this. I very rarely will you ever hear me like try to get into the pocketbooks of a player, because ultimately at the end of the day, these guys have short careers. In the grand scheme of things. I am turning 40 this year, and I have already been on my job for 20 years. NFL players don't get that. Now, granted, I don't make the money they do, obviously. I'm just
right.
talking about longevity. I'm not talking about compensation. So for them, they have to try to get as much as they can as soon as they can. Because, like, just like with RG3, you never know when it's going to end for you. Okay.
Yep.
You never know when you're going to be on the sideline. So in that aspect, and for players, there is not too many times in their career that they end up with the leverage. That's not the way it's designed. That's not the way it's been built. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, but I'll say this, they agree to it in the CBAs. So in that aspect, I don't feel bad for them. Okay.
Well, yeah, but then that's also their CBA leaders not
Right.
being as
Yeah, exactly.
but
Right.
at the end of the day, they do end up
Right. They
saying,
do. They do go into it with that full knowledge of
yep,
this is so when they do get the opportunity to express some kind of like say in what they, in what they get, in what they where they play and things like that. I'm not going, even if it's a situation that I don't like, I'm not going to sit there and really fault them for it. Now,
Yeah.
Bradley adds like Lamar turned down a $230 million extension, to my knowledge. Nothing wrong with that, but ATL doesn't need that right now. I agree with that statement. Like if he turned it down because he saw what Deshaun Watson got and fully guaranteed, and he said, that's what I want, and he's representing himself, then he's betting on himself.
Mhm.
And if another team wants to give him fully guaranteed what he's looking for, I ain't saying he don't deserve it. I ain't saying he does deserve it. I'm saying that he is betting on himself. And more than likely, what's been rumored right now is a tag and trade situation
Yep.
as to where they don't use, they use a non-exclusive franchise tag on him, which basically what the Ravens are saying is, okay, look, this is what we're willing to pay you. You're looking for a fully guaranteed deal. I don't think you're going to get it. I'm pretty sure the rest of the league isn't going to give it to you. So here's the opportunity for somebody else to offer it to you. Because that's the deal with the exclusive right or non exclusive right. What the Ravens would have is the right to match an offer. So, if say the Falcons throw it out there and say, okay, we'll give you 5 years, $250 million guaranteed, structured like this, that, and the third. And the Ravens are like, nope, we don't want to do that. We ain't going to match it. All we would have to do, and this is a big all, but all we would have to do is give up 2 first round picks.
Mhm.
And let's look at it like on a straight basis. And to secure a 25-year-old former MVP of the league, draft compensation of 2 first round picks isn't all that much.
Yeah.
Like
I,
realistically.
I agree.
I don't
I
say I'm
agree.
not I don't want to go that route. Like I'm letting that be known. But the logistics behind it, I could definitely see, if the team is willing to do what the deal that he wants to do, that's gonna be uh that's gonna be the thing. Because like as Joe puts up here, it says fully guaranteed is a huge deal.
Yeah.
This means the team has no out at all. The Browns are on the hook for at least 55 million per season with Watson for the next 4 years, and Lamar wants more. Exactly.
And
That
I mean, if you pay a quarterback, now I'm all for fully guaranteed contracts. My problem, and this is a problem of the NFL's making, completely of the NFL's making. Uh, Fully guaranteed contracts are good. They probably just need to tone down the per year average.
right, that or it needs to be shorter contracts. Like to
Yeah.
me, the Kirk Cousins $84 million fully guaranteed for 3 years was a smart deal. He
Oh
got
yeah.
he got his fully guaranteed money,
Mhm.
you know, and so like to me, I thought that's the way things were going to start going.
Yeah.
And
I
then
would
the
do.
Browns did the Browns and
Yeah.
and guaranteed his that contract to Deshaun Watson.
Yeah. They completely just blew the bell curve on that.
Oh yeah.
So,
Bridget
uh,
says
hey,
that
Bridget.
she said she'd bet on herself because she knows she's great.
Well,
There
you are one of the more confident people I know then
you
because
go. There you
I would not bet on myself in that situation. I'd be like, how much money are you going to give me up front?
go.
We'll
Michael
figure out
Walker
the rest of
stepped.
that later.
Michael Walker stopped in and said, "What's up, good people? What's going on,
What's
Michael?
up, Michael?
We over here just talking about the league, chopping it up. Uh,
Yep.
and
Shooting the
let's
you know
see.
what?
Millie Mills says cap goes up every year, people, so it wouldn't hurt us that bad. Went up every year, but the COVID year. Now,
Yep.
I will say this: that is something to keep in mind. If I will say this, if they decide hypothetically to do whatever deal he wanted and give Lamar, I would feel like that they knew that they could still add to this team because they have to know that they're more than just a quarterback away. Like they have to, right?
Yeah.
Like if me and you and the entire chat can look at it and say we're more than just a quarterback away. Like we don't have, Patrick McQueen or Patrick Queen, and Roquan Smith. You don't have Marcus Peters, the players on the defensive side that Baltimore has that, complements the offense. Uh, those things that we don't have that yet. And, you could say, oh, well, JR, we got the talent of Drake London and Kyle Pitts and uh, Tyler Algier and so on and so forth. And I agree with all that. Yeah, but that is some good talent. But that talent's going to have to get paid here soon, too.
Yep.
So, do you want to use the one of the better cheat codes in the league, which is a quarterback on a rookie deal? Like, do you want to use that to lock up some of these guys, structure the deals where they get a majority of their money while you're not paying a quarterback? Like, that could be a route you go, right?
Yeah. And
So,
that's like that's I think with Fontenot's comments at the press conference where he's saying, yes, we're going to go, we're going to go into this, paraphrasing here. I don't have the
right, right,
exact quote. Paraphrasing, basically like, yes, we're going to have all this money. Yes, we're going to be able to do some things in free agency that we weren't able to do, the past 2 seasons. And we're definitely going to be able to do a lot more things, but we still need to be disciplined. Like
right,
we don't want to go back to what we were before,
right,
when they first showed up. So honestly, like, my honest opinion is that I think, especially with, what they, whatever they saw in practice and in the classrooms that they, when they, the team rooms, and then the last 4 games of the season, especially the last two, I think all of that put together, they at least feel like for this upcoming season, they want to, they feel like Ritter's on the come up, and give him a full off season. Maybe bring in a vet guy to try to push him slash
right.
mentor him,
Yeah.
whatever. But not bring in a Tannehill, a Carr, a Lamar, because any one of those
Yeah,
three
you
guys
bring
you
those
bring
guys
in,
in.
they
You're
they they're not coming here unless you guarantee they're starting.
right. Like, why would they? Like, why would
Yeah,
Tannehill come here? Like,
yeah,
why would Carr come here? Like,
yeah,
Carr he's going to get traded and he has a no trade clause. So, like, why would Carr come here if he's not going to be handed the keys? Like,
exactly.
there's a good chance that they're going. But I'll say this: the fact that Malik Willis didn't, the fact that Tennessee brought in Josh Dobbs to finish out their season instead of handing the keys to Malik Willis tells me that they might not be ready to move on from Tannehill just yet.
Yeah,
And so those guys might not even be on it. So you might be looking at Jacoby Brissett or, uh, you know, uh, Gardner Minshew or maybe even Baker Mayfield. But heck, Baker Mayfield's going to be looking for a starting job. He's going
yeah,
to feel like he played well enough for McVay to, keep going.
yeah.
Let's see here.
I want to, bridge it here. I
Which
see, it's the next to last
this one
chat. Yeah.
I could
As far as I'm assuming you're talking about, like, picking up Lamar. As far as you can see them doing it though, and I agree, their jobs on the line, but I'm going to say this: the thing I will disagree with is they don't have much time. Honestly, I think I think Arthur has wanted to do. That's why he gave Quinn so much leeway. Uh, when a lot of people were like, he probably should have been fired the year before, or even the year before that, or whatever. But I think Arthur, like, honestly, the clock, uh, on this rebuild starts now. Like, the
right.
rebuild actually starts this offseason.
Yeah,
I don't think the past 2 seasons have been about, if we get to the playoffs, great. That's way ahead of schedule. But I have a feeling they're thinking, like, this is gonna, like, we're in this for the long haul. And that's why you get the offensive coach, so that
right.
if you do, when you get things running right and you get that offense going good, then you can, you're not shipping off your brain trust there. You're keeping that intact. But I think this is the long haul. I think he, unless they absolutely, completely, like almost like winless season,
Right. Yeah, I think
I could maybe see a winless season. But if he's like 7-10 and 8-9, 9-8 for like 2 more seasons, I think he's perfectly fine.
I
To be fully
think
honest.
I think depending on what they do in the offseason, like you, especially with the state of the NFC South, I think that you feel like you want to be not finishing at the bottom of the division, like you did this year. Like, you got to start beating New Orleans on a regular basis, that kind of thing. And I think because you build your team to beat your division, and right now, uh, the division is wide open. So I really do feel like that they should be even more so like truly contending for the division. Like the reason why you were contending this past year is because Tom Brady finally made it to 45.
Mhm.
If that makes any sense. Like nobody came into this year thinking that you were going to contend for the division. You know, not after uh Byron Leftwich was getting considerations for head coaching jobs because how well the offense played the year before. Like Brady was still looking like top of the league, all that jazz. Uh Somebody's asking, is this live? Yes, it is live.
Yes.
Um, and I hope everything's looking okay because we've been going at this thing for an hour and ain't nobody said that everything is going south. So we're gonna just assume that it is. Um, anyway, so I will say that at the end of next season or like next season, you really need to be in the thick of it, like truly in the thick of it.
Yeah.
And like that's my thoughts there. But before we can get there, I mean, we still need to hire a DC, right?
Yep.
That spot's still wide open.
We're
Um,
hiring Brian Flores, right? I mean,
well,
that's
see
what I
here,
heard.
but here's the deal, right? Like you talk about with Flores, like, do you want to hire a guy that like ultimately has aspirations that's also getting head coaching stuff, like head
Yes.
coaching interviews? Do you think like you hire Flores? Now, to me, it makes sense because he comes from that Bill Belichick tree. This, same deal. It shouldn't be that much of a shift to go from Pease to Flores as far as schematics. I wouldn't think, but like, do you think he would be a one and done? You know, like if he comes in, turns the defense around, now he's interviewing for head coaching jobs again, and then you'd be right back in the DC search. Um, I don't know. It's good. Like Flores is at one of the tops of my list. My top guy got hired today by uh the Cleveland Browns with
Jim
Jim Short.
Schwartz. Oh,
That
I
was a guy,
wanted him so bad.
right? That was a guy I really wanted. Um,
Mhm.
so I think like that was the one that I was hoping for. But then you have the DC of uh the Broncos, who the Broncos blocked us from interviewing him,
Mhm.
but they can't block him from head coaching interviews. But they blocked him from interviewing with us for a lateral move until they get their head coach in place. And I'll be interested to see if we are in a holding pattern until we can interview him.
Yeah. And that's a possibility because like I know that he is very highly thought of as a defensive mind. And but one of the things I read was that like per, an insider's, I can't remember who it was, but an insider was basically like he does not want to be in Denver
Right. Yeah, I've heard
anymore.
that he don't want to be in Denver anymore, and I think it's a deal of, well, maybe depending on who we hire, that might change his mind or whatever. But that marks the second time that the Broncos have blocked us from interviewing somebody. They blocked us from Kubiak before he went to the Vikings after
Yep.
Shanahan left.
Yep.
Billy Mills says, JR, what about Aaron Glenn, DC from Detroit? Well, that would be a lateral move, and I don't think he's going anywhere.
Yeah.
Uh, so I like him, but I don't think he's going to go anywhere. So,
That's why I think the only one that we so far, I could be wrong. I haven't
uh
been super duper duper following like with every detail, but I think the only guy that we've asked as a lateral move has been Evero.
Right. Evero's
As
the that's the lateral move. Flores would be an upgrade. Uh, Jerry Gary, I think is his name.
Jerry Gray.
Gray. Okay. Because I kind of chuckled when I said Jerry Gray in my head. I was like, please don't let this. So if that's the case, I'm going to make fun of this man relentlessly just for his name. Anyway, so Jerry Gray is the passing game coordinator for the Broncos. I think he had been a previous DC. Um, there was an assistant like linebackers coach or something like that from New Orleans, D-line coach. I can't remember
yeah, yeah,
his name.
I saw that pop up too.
So yeah, like I said, I can't remember his name. And
Fred
then
Butts.
there's the
I'm gonna
DC
tell you,
from
Fred Butts. I'm gonna tell you, no Rex Ryan.
no, yeah, I think Rex is he's happy on the set of ESPN, bro.
Yep.
Let's see. Al Holcomb, the Panthers interim defensive coordinator when Wilkes took over. He is somebody that we have requested an interview with. Oh, you got your air horn ready?
Yep.
Dre Harrison tipped us $10. I might have to get a button or something. Anyway, he says trading for Lamar would be a Dimitrov move. TF and AS seem to actually have a vision on what they want this team to be. Lamar equals cap hell in 2 years, the loss of London and Pitts. That's a possibility. Obviously, depends on how it gets structured, things of that nature. But I really feel like Lamar, I agree. Like that feels like, oh, we're one player away. That was like Dimitrov's mentality all the time. Oh, we're one player away. No, we're not. We're not one player away. Not right now. We're not. Like would Lamar make us a instant like contender in the NFC South? Yes, but I don't like with the way the roster is constructed. Unless these guys like make major leaps, like you would be looking at probably a 1 or 2 and done in the playoffs. So like I think they want to build something more sustainable.
Yep.
Let's see. Somebody just let's see. Sip Thought says, did Legend Flazer get signed or is he still on the Bills till the end of the season? I'm not sure about his contract situation.
I mean, if he's the current DC, right?
Yeah, he is the current DC. And I don't
Okay.
see any reason why Sean McDermott wouldn't bring him back.
Yeah.
Wallace
No, if they're as long as they're still in there, then in the playoffs, and it is what
right.
it is.
Wallace Smith says Rex Ryan is not coming back to be a DC. I kind of feel that way too. If he were to come back, it would be as a head coach, and that would be about it. Yep. Isaac says it's Nielsen from New Orleans. Yeah, Nielsen is the guy's name.
That was
now. Here's an interesting one that Josh Gillum brings up. It's Lovie Smith. We were already running a lot of cover 2 this past year with the roster that we have in place. So, like, are you wanting, like, is it a deal where Arthur Smith, like, hey, look, I want a DC that I don't have to micromanage? And if that's the case, Lovie Smith definitely fits that bill. He fits a bill that you can install him as the DC and let him have it and let him move on. Same thing. Now, granted, he's been tied to Sean Payton, but same thing with Fangio. Mm-hmm. If you were to get Fangio, and Alberto mentions Wilkes. If Wilkes doesn't end up keeping the head coaching job at Panthers, like I wouldn't mind him as a DC. I know Fred's like hell no, but I don't know. Their defense was looking good.
Yeah. I will say this with what he's been able to do in the capacity of a interim head coach, I could very easily see him trying to go for head coaching positions as well if he doesn't end up in Carolina.
Yeah, and I really honestly, I think he would be a smart play in Carolina myself. But it just all depends on what David Tepper wants. Does he Does he think Wilkes is the guy to get the most out of a young quarterback? And does he finally draft it a real young quarterback, so to speak? Like you could say that. I mean, they drafted Matt Corral, so do they think that's the, uh, that's the quarterback of their future, or they're in play to potentially draft a Bryce Young or something of that nature, whoever the third or fourth quarterback is left. Um, Nick uh, Nick has a point. Like the talent makes the scheme better. Yeah,
Yep.
like you can have the greatest scheme in the world, but at the end of the day, you got to have the talent
I mean,
to
you look
match
at
it.
you. I mean, you look at Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn, yeah, he was the head coach here, but he was heavily involved in the defense.
Yep.
Okay, the defense never quite, and the closest we got was obviously 2016, probably 2017. The defense, I think, was actually better in 20 overall, better in 2017.
Yep.
And even then, we were never like super like statistically great or whatever. He goes to Dallas and he's got some serious talent in Dallas. Serious talent. And with that talent, same guy, and the same thing when he was in Seattle. He runs the same exact defense, but he has the talent.
Right. He's got the horses to
And
run it.
right, and that if you got the horses to run it, it looks a lot better.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. No, you're exactly right. Uh, Bradley asks us the questions. He says, I want the Falcons to pursue a right tackle this offseason. Do you see anyone in free agency or the draft that you like? Free agency, I'm going to go ahead and say it. It's like, to me, in free agency, it's what Josh says. It's re-sign McGarry. Like,
Yep.
honestly. Like he's been a year in your system. He knows what to expect. He knows what you want done. And like we can figure out how to structure his deal one way or the other. But free agent wise, I would say McGarry. If you don't want to re-sign McGarry, uh, Darnell Wright from Tennessee. He played 1 year left tackle, this past year right tackle. Like he's a guy that has really caught my eye. Like the edge rushers that you might be salivating for in the draft, guys like Will Anderson and guys like BJ Ojolari, he shut those guys down completely when they play. Like, and he is a real good tackle prospect. So as far as like he might even be like a first round tackle prospect. We'll see how it all like plays out as we start to get this draft season really rolling. But uh Darnell Wright is at the like a high on my list as far as like tackles go if we don't sign McGarry. Free agent wise, have you looked into tackles at all, John?
No, but I am of the opinion that I feel like McGarry is coming into his own.
Right.
I feel like he's on the up, he's on the upslope of his career right now. He is, you know, 90% plus time of the time he's a road grader in run blocking. Him and Lindstrom over there together are just like I've literally sat and watched us run behind those two guys 3 or 4 times in a row and get good yardage every single time.
Right.
And so I think that you have something in McGarry that I think because I think he's if not the highest, he's like he's up there. Depends on how much stock you put into PFF, but he's like one of the highest rated right tackles in the league per PFF,
Right.
like
Yeah,
one
you
of the
could
highest. So
yeah, you could take PFF with a grain of salt, but in their own metrics, he's one of their best. So,
yes, that
you
was what I was
know,
saying. So,
right. And
but
that's one of the deals.
so he's also a known commodity, right? We know what he can, we know what he can do. We know what he's working on. We know what he's like, and they will have seen this year like the things that he's doing to become better, and they see the progress with that. And if they like that, and they feel like that's a sustainable thing for him to do, and it's not just he just happened to play good this year, and it's like, but we don't know how that happened. We don't see it happening. It just happened. Then yeah, maybe that's a situation where the guys, just decided to turn it on so he can get paid and then go back to being a no good guy, and that could happen either way. But I think McGarry is the guy because I think he's going to get better and better at pass blocking. He's already great at run blocking, and if we
And
really want to run the football, that's the guy to get.
and like like beyond like regardless of what you really think about him, in a sense, like tackles and offensive linemen are one of the few positions that get better as they age, so to speak, because it becomes more about the nuances and all that jazz. So, if you feel like if the coaching staff, especially Dwayne Ledford, who's done an amazing job this year, like the schematic helps with the run game. They still got beat a lot in pass pro, but if you feel like, hey, we were making progress, then there's something there uh, that you may not give up on. You might like he might be like a franchise candidate, like a franchise tag for a year, and see if he can do it again. Like who knows?
Mhm.
Like yes, I know that they didn't pick up his 5th-year option, and they have ultimately said all the way around that the only two positions that are locked in were Lindstrom and Jake Matthews. Like they've been pretty open about that aspect of it. So, but I still think that it a little too early just to give up on McGarry. If you don't believe me, go talk to Washington fans about Wes Schweitzer. Like he has been a stalwart on that line.
Yep.
So, that's
And
just yeah,
and offensive line is weird like that. Like you could have a guy that just for whatever reason plays for us or any team, and just stinks it up, looks bad. But the problem with that is the offensive line more than any other. Those guys have to play together as a unit. Um, and if they don't, then everybody looks bad.
right. Yep.
So a guy that you're like, oh, that guy's a turnstile. What's it? And then he goes, who was it? Ty Sombrello. The guy was here. He was at Denver. Was a turnstile there. Came here. He was okay. He was a little bit better, but he was still pretty much a turnstile here. And then he went out to San Francisco in the
No,
first.
he went to Tennessee
Oh, he went to Tennessee, and then
with
they like
with guess who?
with,
Arthur
who?
Smith. Arthur
Oh
Smith.
yeah, yeah,
That's what I'm saying. Like Arthur Smith, like took Ty Sombrello and turned him into a quality, offensive lineman.
yep,
So, like I said, if they feel like they can get him for a decent price or whatever they're comfortable with, bring him back, franchise him, see if he can do it again for another year. But if they let him walk off, there's some chatter in the chat going on talking about moving Jake Matthews to right tackle. No, you're not moving.
no,
He has been 10 plus years. I know he played right tackle in college. I know he did. He played majority of his college career at right tackle. His senior year, he went over to the left side, but he has been a left tackle in this league for over a decade.
yep.
Like you're not going to move him to right tackle. And plus, you
and
didn't.
and it's not like he's been a bad left tackle. He's
No,
been at worst he's been above average,
above average. Exactly.
and there have been years where he's been really like one of the top left tackles in
Yep.
the league.
And so,
Like
like to me, if you're going to move on from McGarry, then it's like because you feel like, but then again, you do that and they pigeonhole themselves into having to draft a tackle. And at least these past 2 years, it seems like they're not necessarily wanting to have to go in the draft, having to draft something. Like it's BPA for them. And so
yep,
that's an interesting, like we clamored for years with Dimitrov about getting a BPA, going BPA. Well, now you finally have a GM that is truly BPA,
yep,
so um, let's see. Joe says tackles get paid because they're on an island of pass pro and the O line slides away from them. It's not for run blocking, not highly paid tackles in this league. That's bad at pass pro. It depends on what this coaching staff is looking for. If you're passing 20 to 30 times a game at most, but you're running it, then maybe you want the road grader. Maybe for you, the road grader is what you need.
yeah.
So it's just going to be interesting to see how it plays out. We're going to continue talking about how it's going to play out. I want to take a second early. I don't know if he's still in chat. I kind of hope he is. But Jarek Butler uh, did me a super solid because he knows I'm heading down to the Senior Bowl, and he cashed at me a tank of gas to get down there, which I thought was absolutely awesome and amazing. And I figure, if any of y'all want to do the same, you don't have to. Just throwing it out there because, gas is expensive. But if any of y'all want to do the same, it's kind of like the same deal. Like if you tip us on here, I'm going to read your question. He tipped me on Cash Apps. I want to call him out, and because I very much appreciated it. I meant to do it earlier when he had commented, but the conversation was rolling and moving. So I want to straight up and down say, thank you to Jarek Butler for, sending me that and be much, much helpful and much, much appreciated. Let's see. We've covered the DCs. We've talked a little bit about free agent. Is there any like free agent like right off the rib you can think of that you're like, we got to bring this guy back? Is there anybody
that we've got to bring this guy back?
Like a dude who's on like one of the 1 year guys who we've brought in, like a Rashaan Evans or Lorenzo Carter or Cordell Hodge,
I mean,
any of those guys, like
of
any of
those
those
guys,
guys.
Rashad Evans.
Rashad Evans, yeah.
Yeah, I think Rashad Evans is the guy because he's he leads the team in tackles, and I think he's like number 5 in the NFL in tackles. We saw for the most part the defense, like once he became the Mike, like we started to see the defense trending a little bit better.
Right.
People were getting in position better. Now, sometimes they weren't always making the tackles, they weren't making the plays but they were in position to make the plays. And like at the end of the year, I don't think like we went a good chunk of the end of the season, like last 5-6 games or whatever. We didn't give up more than like 21 points a game.
Right.
And you can say like, oh, well, we had this team, we had that team, their offense was this and their offense was that. I've seen plenty of times where we had third string, a Brock Purdy type. Obviously, Brock Purdy's looked like he probably should.
Well, you can use Skylar Thompson.
Skylar Thompson, but we've seen how many times have we seen a no-name guy come into Atlanta with no weapons and then come out of here with like 35 points. Right. How many times do we see that? And we're like,
how and why?
What? And so for him to have multiple times in this last stretch of the season where, including with Mariota, pre and post the benching, we saw the defense for the most part held up their end of the bargain in keeping teams point totals low enough that we should be winning those games if we have a halfway decent offense, which,
right.
If we start Ritter earlier, maybe we do, maybe we don't, who knows? But at the end of the day, the defense, I think for the most part, and Dean Pease, said, he feels like the defense was very much trending in the right direction. And he's proud of what the guys have been able to do, and he looks forward to seeing like what they're going to do, going forward. And I agree.
Yeah, no, I am definitely interested to see what ends up transpiring, like defensively, who we hire or like who they decide to bring back. Because I know once Pease left Tennessee, like Rashaan Evans' play kind of fell off a little bit. So, was it Pease that was able to get the best out of Evans, like not asking him to do a ton of coverage or what have you, basically just asking him to come downhill. Who knows? So it's going to be interesting to see who the DC is, but a guy that I would like to bring back for the right price, and you're going to hear that phrase a lot out of me. For the right price, I'd like to bring back Carter. Because I think he could be a nice rotational piece. Helping guys like Ebiketie and Malone come along. But he could be looking for a decent payday. And again, it's going to be like, who you bringing in, and are they going to be able to get the good out of these guys?
But also he may be looking for a payday, but I think he had even less sacks than he did when he was with the Giants.
Previous year, yeah.
So it's not like his total production has made his his ticket just skyrocket as far as his price tag.
And like Lamine Zaccheaus, as long as he isn't like getting $30 million a year kind of deal, because I don't think he's necessarily worth that, at least not in this offense, not when Kyle Pitts comes back.
No.
But there, the last two games, Ritter was starting to get some rapport with him, and I think he can be a good, third, fourth option.
Yep.
So, like high on my list is, depending on how you want to do the deal, is, McGarry, Evans, Alameda, and probably Carter. Again, all for the right prices. But I think every one of those, outside of maybe McGarry, I think you could easily upgrade those positions with, other players. Like guys like, they're talking about like Jacoby Myers in the chat. Like those guys are I think, going to be commanding like wide receiver 2 type money. And I don't know if we're really necessarily looking to pay wide receiver 2, if that makes any sense. Because your main two options coming back are going to be Drake London and Kyle Pitts. Like with the way you run the ball, if you keep that up, how much, how many targets do you really have? And that's the guy I always forget about, Dre Harrison, bringing up Isaiah Oliver. I think Isaiah Oliver, when did they sign him to a 2-year deal? Or was it a 1?
I am not sure.
I'll have to dig into that. Something tells me, because anytime I go look at free agent stuff, like on these like simulators and things like that, his name is never there. So it makes me
Yeah.
wonder if there's like a team option kind of deal for us for this upcoming year. But if not, he is definitely a guy that needs to come back. Like,
Yeah.
if you're going to run that same creeper style defense, um, like he's a linchpin for that. But again, like without Pease here, it's going to be real interesting to see what a new DC values. Because if a new
Yep.
DC don't value these style of player that Isaiah Oliver is, then maybe he doesn't get brought back.
Possible.
Both Bradley and Tony are saying it was a 1-year deal for Isaiah Oliver.
Okay.
So, like I said, it's a deal of like, what does this new DC value? What is he going to value? But we'll have those questions answered once we get one, right? So, but my man, we have bumped up over an hour talking football on
Yeah, we have.
a day where the Falcons didn't even play.
I
So
know.
I think that's a positive. We're
That's a
gonna
very big one. So go
I'm
ahead.
gonna go ahead and try to shut this thing down. We appreciate y'all hanging out with us. I got our Twitter handles on the screen. I am at Grim1128.
Look at that.
Right. Jonathan is at Jonathan M. Holder. You
Yep.
can hit us up on Twitter. I definitely love interacting with people. Keep your eye on the channel as always, because like we're putting out different things, whether it's interviews with Eric Robinson, who was gracious enough to come on and spend time talking about the season,
It was
to
an awesome conversation.
to like we're gonna have other guys. Like I got draft guys lined up. I got things that are definitely going to be coming down the pipeline. Yes, very much hit that like button if y'all are willing. That would be awesome. That
Yes.
helps us out.
So
So
subscribe, like.
yep, subscribe if you're not. That helps us out greatly. Um, all the links are in the bio if you want anything. And yeah, man, as always, Falcons fans, like rise
Real,
up.
real, real,
No,
real
go ahead.
quick,
Yeah. What
Nick.
you got?
Nick, I could get down with the wide receiver from TCU.
No doubt. No doubt. You got that. And then another one is like talking about Jordan Addison out of USC. That's I don't know. I don't know how this fan base would handle drafting a third pass catcher, because both those guys are going to be first round talents.
Yep.
And so that would make a third year in a row. So we'll see how all this shakes out. But yeah, man,
Bijan Robinson.
that's right. That's right. That's gonna be here. And we'll be back next Tuesday. Like I said, we're doing a little bit different this year, this off season. We're not gonna have 2 weeks or a week or so off in between streams. We'll be here every week. So y'all just come on back and we'll keep talking
Yep.
ball.
And thanks, Bradley.
Yep. Yeah.
Thanks for helping out
Yep.
modding.
That's it. That's it. I appreciate that greatly, Bradley. And I'm going to get that StreamYard thing completely shut down. I blocked it. So hopefully you didn't have any more problems with it. And I'm going to get it canceled completely. So appreciate y'all. And as always, Falcons fans, rise up.
Rise up.